Now we'll turn eIDAS rules into a real customer experience. We'll map the full onboarding journey, highlight where identity proofing and qualified signing happen, and walk through concrete UX patterns that keep security strong while still feeling smooth, clear, and trustworthy. When you design an eIDAS onboarding solution, you constantly move between three views: why the bank needs this, how the customer experiences it, and how the systems actually work. The business view defines goals, risks, and regulations you must satisfy. The architecture view turns those into concrete components, APIs, and integrations. User journeys and UX bridge the two. They turn abstract requirements into a step-by-step experience a real person can understand, complete, and trust. You can think of the whole flow as two stories running in parallel. From the customer's perspective, it's simple. They discover the service, go through onboarding, sign the contract, and get confirmation that the account is open. Behind the scenes, each visible step triggers a specific system action: creating a secure session, performing identity checks, calling hardware-secured signing, and writing detailed logs. As we design the architecture, we'll keep tying these user touchpoints to the eIDAS relevant backend events they depend on. Now focus on onboarding and signing as a series of small, guided steps on the customer's phone. Each step in the journey corresponds to a clear system state in the backend. First, you capture intent and basic data. Then you collect and validate identity attributes. Next, you verify stronger factors like an OTP or eID-based authentication. Only when all conditions are met do you trigger the qualified signature step. This progressive flow keeps users confident, while the architecture quietly enforces assurance and compliance. Identity proofing is where most remote onboarding flows slow down or even lose customers. Before this point, users are just typing data. Now they're asked to prove who they are, often with documents, photos, or an eID. To keep people moving, you need to do three things clearly. Explain why this step is necessary in terms of regulation and security. Actively reassure them about privacy and data protection. And set realistic time expectations, so the process feels controlled rather than endless. Choosing an identity verification method is really about trading off UX friction, technical complexity, and coverage. eID-based login works well when national schemes are widely adopted. Users simply reuse an existing eID, so flows are fast and familiar. Architecturally, it can be quite simple, but you depend on those national infrastructures. Document plus liveness works almost anywhere a user has an ID and a camera. It creates more friction and more edge cases, but gives you broad accessibility and more control over the flow. The signature ceremony is where user experience and legal compliance meet. Treat it as a mini flow with three goals. First, the user must really see and understand the contract. Readable text and clearly highlighted key terms. Second, they need a plain language explanation of what a qualified electronic signature means, including its legal effect. Third, there has to be an explicit, conscious action to sign, something stronger than a passive checkbox. When these three work together, you reduce disputes and build user trust. In an eIDAS onboarding flow, consent isn't just a UX step, it's a legal control. You typically need three clear checkpoints. First, GDPR data consent. The customer must actively agree to how their data is used and stored. Second, acceptance of the bank's terms and conditions that govern the account itself. Third, a specific acknowledgement that they are about to create a qualified electronic signature with defined legal effects. Each action should be explicit, logged, and timestamped, so you can later prove what the user agreed to and when. A powerful pattern in onboarding is step-up authentication. For most of the journey, you keep security at a basic, low-friction level so users can complete forms and checks without too much effort. Then, right before the qualified signature, you raise the bar and require strong multi-factor authentication. This concentrates the highest assurance exactly where the legal risk is, while protecting conversion rates earlier in the process. As an architect, you decide where that step-up point sits and which factors to use. Trust and compliance aren't just back-end concerns. They must be visible to the customer at the moment of signing. Here, the bank clearly shows who they are and that the process is eIDAS qualified. A familiar bank brand, plus the eID scheme trust mark, reassures users this isn't a phishing page. Security icons like a lock signal protected communication. Finally, short plain language text explaining why the signature is legally valid and safe can sharply reduce drop-off and support calls. After a qualified signature, the emotional moment matters. The user needs to feel, "This worked and I'm safe." Show a clear success state, summarize what was just signed, and offer an easy download of the contract or receipt. Then spell out the next steps. What happens now when their account is active, and where to get help. Designing eIDAS journeys is about balancing two goals: strong security and smooth onboarding. You don't need maximum friction everywhere. Reserve the strictest controls for steps with real legal or financial impact, like qualified signing. For earlier, lower-risk interactions, use lighter, adaptive checks so users feel protected, not punished by your security. You've now seen how to map the end-to-end onboarding journey, plug in identity proofing, and shape a clear, qualified e-signature ceremony, all while balancing friction and risk. Your next step is to turn this journey blueprint into a concrete solution architecture that you can explain, defend, and iterate with your stakeholders.